Got to give the people, give the people what they want. Back, Bass, Reese, Miss Helft is in the background. Write this stuff down. We're bringing you how to create a good graph. Because you're going to have to do that this week. That's right. So there are like, I don't know, 4 or 5 basic rules. So I'm just going to get those down real quick for you. So let's say this. Rules to create a great graph. Boom. 1. Keep these simple. Let's see. Use a straight edge. Okay? It can be a ruler, it can be the side of your book, whatever you got to do. Make a straight edge, make good lines. Boom, it feels good, doesn't it? 2, we'll say if the info is from a table, you will have separate points, right? If it's from a table, they're just going to graph those points. In other words, you're not going to connect those points together, okay? It's just not random, but it's just separate information, okay?
It's isolated.
It is isolated. Miss Reese put me on to that. It's isolated information. But if the info is from an equation, right? So if we're pulling this information from an equation, this is all informing, in our case right now, a line, okay? So this is where you would actually connect the points, and in most cases in this first semester, that's going to be forming a line, okay? So this is some type of line. It might not be a straight line even, but it's going to be a line, okay? The third rule, my computer just shut down on me real quick, but it says clearly label your X and Y axis, okay? Make sure that you clearly label those. Hey, Mr. Fuller, how you doing? We're just doing a video right here, okay? The next one. So rule number 4.
Okay, this is what happens when your team loses to the Bears. There's your.
I accept this sandwich,
Fair
and I
square.
applaud you.
Okay, thank
Your
you.
team played well.
Oh, I don't think that happened, but
I don't
enjoy the
either.
enjoy the sandwich and the math.
Next rule says, this would be 4, I believe. Pay attention. Pay attention to and clearly label the scale of your graph. Okay? So for this one, what we're talking about, and actually this is one of the few things I'll ever say. You don't have to write this. I'm just explaining it. You don't have to write this part right here. Right? If I'm counting by ones, I can just label right here and I know that it's going by ones. And we're okay with that. Miss Reese feels good about it. I feel good about it, okay? But the moment you decide to tell me that this is 0 and this is 2, 4, 6, and 8, you're going by something other than ones, you need to let us know what that scale is, okay? So please remember to do that. I hope that makes sense. We'll be talking a lot more about that in class on Monday. Ms. Reese, I just thought of another one. Always use the same scale between, or the same amount between each point, right?
Good one, Mr. Bass. What do you mean by that, though?
What do I mean by that? Help me out. How do I say that in a better way than what I just said?
I like what you said.
Always use the same, I'll call it scale, between points.
Yeah.
Okay? Always use the same scale between those points. So in that case, you know, again, here's one of those other things I'm going to say, rarely. Don't write this down, I just want you to see it. right? So if I'm doing this, and I go 2, then 4, I'm going up by 2 each time. I can't call this then 7, and this 10, right? Because between here and here it was 2, but between here and here it was 3. So you have to make sure that you have a common scale for each one, all right? Bye, Miss Health. Oh, do you have something for me?
Yeah, could we go 2, 4, 8, 16? Is that cool?
2, 4, 8, 16?
Yeah, because it's going up by 2s.
2, 4, 8, 16. Can't do it. Because even though it's being multiplied by 2, it can't be multiplied. You can't have like a multiplying pattern. It pretty much always has to be an addition pattern. Good point. I like that. I like that. I like that. Man, my computer keeps shutting down on me. Oh, there it is. I think that's it.
That is it.
I think that's it. Boom. Boom. So here it is. Magically, I just changed clothes. I'm looking fresh for the next day. So, let's actually get up in here and make a good graph. You should probably pause right now and copy this graph down. So I'm gonna let you do that. Boom. You just paused and you made that happen. So this graph is showing me the days that have passed and the grams of mold that are growing in my locker, all right? So I'm graphing these things, okay? So I wanna make a good graph, so I want to follow these rules. So first rule, use a straight edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna make my X and Y axis. So I'm gonna go, make it even a little bit bigger. Use a straight edge. If it is all humanly possible. Boom, okay? Rule 1, use a straight edge. Done. Rule 2 said, if it's a table, you just want separate points. If it's an equation, you want to create a line. Well, this is just a table, so this means I'm just going to be making points. I'm not going to connect those points to each other, okay? So I'm going to keep that in mind. Rule 3 said, clearly label the X and Y axis, right? We usually go in this order. So the X axis is days past. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to check right here. Yes, you can. And the Y axis is going to be grams of mold. Grams of mold in my locker, okay? Here's my 0 point, right? Okay? So you all, in reality, would have a graph paper when you do that, but it says label the scale of your graph. All right, so here, I'm going to put points, and I'm going to try to put them the same amount of space away. You'll have graph paper when you do this, so you won't have to measure out, but I'm going to put them about 2 inches apart. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, right? Put all these 2 inches apart, so it's the same amount of space between them. Same up here. I'm going to put everything about 2 inches apart. So that goes 0, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 8, 6, 4. Okay? So we see this. So we're noticing I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm missing one more. I'm just going to call this 10. Okay? So I got that all set up. Now, I have to label my scale. Here's the important part. I need to figure out what am I going to count by on my x-axis and what am I going to count by on my y-axis. That's what's important. So let me take a look at my x-axis. My x goes between 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest. So I'm pretty sure I can just count by ones. That seems fine. I don't get fractions of a day in here. So I'm just going to count by ones. 1, 2, oh, I feel like I messed up right there. Definitely messed that up right there. Let me fix it. Let me fix this. 2 inches, 4 inches, 6, 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. So again, I'm gonna count by 1. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice my information only goes to 5, so that's all I'm gonna put in there. It only goes to 5. Now looking at grams of mold though, I go between the smallest is 0 and the largest is 32. So what would it make sense to count by? If I count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That's not big enough. See what happens if I count by 5s. This is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That's pretty decent, right? That would get me there. But what if I counted by 4s? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 30, 34, 38. I like 4s. So I'm going to count by 4s because 4s uses up most of my space and it covers everything, right? I'm going to say this is 4, 8, 12, 16. You're not going to erase this. I just am. Excuse the truck sound. 20, 24, not 24, about 4, 28, 32, and 36. Right, I want to spread it out as much as I can so that it looks reasonable. So I labeled the scale of the graph. That is good. And then it says use the same scale between points. And again, there were 2 inches between each point, right? Or if you had graph paper, 1 line between each point, or 2 lines between each point. As long as the scales are similar, you should be all right. So you've done all your steps. So now let's go ahead and graph it. Let's see. So my first one is 1 day, 0 mold. There's my first point. 2 days, 2 grams of mold. Notice 2 is halfway between 0 and 4, so I'm going to go 2 days, 2 grams of mold. 3 days, 8 grams of mold. Looks like so. 4 days, 16 grams of mold. Looks like so. And 5 days, 32 grams of mold. Looks like so. Notice I do not connect these points because it's not coming from an equation. But I'm seeing each day the mold is growing more and more. If it was 6 days, it'd probably be something way up there, okay? But it helps me start to see a pattern. So this is a basic how to draw a graph to make sure it makes sense. Everything is labeled, everything's even, it's all set up. Bass, Reese, in the building, doing it like we always do. Out.